Simon. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing, Jeff?
Doing well. So I'm guessing that every one of us on this call will have many anecdotes after this period of lockdown and working at home and all the fun that goes with that. For you and your family, how's it been, and anything surprised you positively about working from home during COVID times?
Yeah. Firstly, thanks to Baringa and Artesian for doing this event, because I was saying earlier to a small group that it's actually our committee day today, and this has taken me out of a risk committee. So thank you for making my day better. In terms of, let's start. There's only two of us in my house at the moment. Our son left us 3 years ago. He's got his own place now. So we're pretty privileged in the sense that, we've got plenty of space, a garden, and there's kind of a forest not too far down the road. So we're getting a daily dose of exercise. So that's been good for us. In terms of, what surprised me, I probably didn't expect this, but I've actually seen less of my wife in the last 6 weeks than when I was physically in the office and traveling around. And whilst I might not look at that positively, I think my wife does, which has been good for her. I think also, how quickly, not just me, but everyone I've spoken to has adapted to the work from home policy. The first 3 weeks, I think we're all running on adrenaline. You're trying to work out how the teams are, getting to grips with the lending portfolios, identifying those businesses that have been significantly impacted. And then on top of that, you've got to continue to run a business. So how quickly everyone's adapted to that has really surprised me in a positive way. And I guess then from kind of week 4 onwards, it's when the hard work really started, and you've got to put into action all those plans of the previous weeks, and the adrenaline's dropped away. So if I'm honest, I've really welcome the thoughts of the others on the panel as well. But I probably found the last 2 to 3 weeks probably the most challenging actually in my career, just because you're having to deal with something extraordinary that we've never seen before. But the good thing is, it tells us that with the right technology, you can actually work from home, so it's helped.
Fair enough. That's quite a statement there, that the last 2 weeks have been some of the most challenging in your career. So I know you've been a tech banker for over 3 decades, so you've seen a number of crises in the past.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a snapshot from your career, a couple of things that stand out, and then really specifically how that's informed how you approach relationship banking today?
Yeah, so I first started looking at media really in the late 90s, and it was the very late 90s. I'm old, but not that old, but so it was probably 98, 99. And I kind of saw firsthand the transition or that convergence with technology, over that period. So this is the 4th crisis I've been around, but the 3rd where I've been covering media and technology. So kind of going through those crises has really helped shape my approach and also my values to relationship banking. I guess the first thing that sticks out, it's kind of a highlight but a low light, was that kind of dot-com bubble period. And what I took away from that was, if you don't understand it, don't do it. That was really, really new, and there was a lot of investment going into dot-com companies, with any name, and a lot of people and a lot of businesses and a lot of individuals lost a lot of money around that time. So yeah, dot-com bubble, don't understand it, don't do it. But of course things have kind of really progressed since then. I guess then we kind of hit the 07-08 crisis. What I did see then was a really different approach to what we saw in 2000, 2001, 2002 period, whereby the management teams that were around that dot-com boom, they'd experienced that crisis. And I felt in 07, 08 that whilst it was, shocking for the financial community and for the global economy as a whole, there was actually stronger management teams around that really experienced from having those negative issues around dot-com crisis. So ordinarily, you would have seen a really big negative impact on media technology businesses. But in 07 and 08, despite how bad it was, the impact on technology and media businesses was less so in previous downturns. And I think it was down to good management teams. I think they looked at the leverage they're putting into businesses. I think they looked at their business models and they focused on cash. So 2 really different scenarios from 2 crises that weren't too far apart in years. Then I probably go on to the relationship point very quickly. So to me, as we all know, I guess from my colleagues on the phone on the panel as well, relationship with management team is key. And I try to instill in my team now that we need to treat those relationships as partnerships. If there's one thing I probably, through the years, and I've been guilty of this as well when I was younger, that I think we're in danger, or banks are in danger of being viewed as a commodity. And we get wrapped up in that, and we kind of, we yes sir, no sir, and we kind of have that relationship with companies and management teams. And the way I've come out of these crises is that I've probably built some of the strongest relationships I've ever had with management teams, and it's helped me operate those relationships on a really even keel. And when I say stay close to the likes of the CEO, the CFO, the FD, that's absolutely key, but you've got to get to know the board as well, and also the investors. Getting to know the board and the investors in scenarios like we're facing now, in moments of crisis, is really, really important. So for me, having relationships internally within the business at all levels is key. And the final point, and I'm sure everyone's aware of this, it's communication, communication, and communication, open, straight, and timely. And that's worked well for me, certainly for the last 25 years.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Simon. If I could just pick up on that last point. So building relationships and the communication. How is that working now? So I know in SVB, you obviously bank technology companies, but you'll bank everywhere from a startup to a scale up to a mature company. I'm assuming they have different challenges, different needs, and the nature of communication is different there. And then equally, your relationship teams are working from home. That's a new modality for everybody. What are you hearing from your clients, and how are you responding in that communication dynamic?
Yeah, so we're the only bank that's focused exclusively on the innovation economy at the moment. We have a 40-year track record, and in the US, we have 50% of all venture-backed businesses, working with us. So I guess over time, that's allowed us to develop experience, knowledge, and a network to increase our clients' probability of success. So not just tailored in financing, but also the banking services that we provide, but also as a true partner to those businesses. So we bank the whole ecosystem, not just the business, we have the investors around that as well. So we get a really thorough overview of the business. And as the business has developed, we break them down into certain life stages. So we have early stage or startups. We then have the venture capital or venture growth. We have life sciences business. We have the more mature corporate finance business. And we also have leveraged buyout. So what we try to do is tailor our services and insights into those various businesses and within those life stages. And we get to know the ecosystem that lives and breathes around them as well. So when it comes to situations that we currently experience, we try and offer more tailored solutions to a specific life stage and also a subsector, working with those partners and stakeholders. So the big thing, obviously, right at this moment in time, is that businesses are looking for cash. So we can work with those businesses and the management teams, and we can link them into new investors, and we can work with those investors and put them together. So it's not just the bank supporting a business's cash needs, it's also working with that investor ecosystem to support those businesses as well. And like other banks, we'll be offering those amortization or deferrals of amortization in certain areas. So we've done that very heavily in the venture and growth space. So those businesses that are really into high growth phase, that need a little bit of excess capacity to continue that growth so they don't stop during this particular crisis. So we've taken away the need for them to, amortize, the debts. And a third thing, and I really like this one, it doesn't sound too much, but we're also offering discounts and introductions to the clients that bank with us. We're introducing our clients to themselves and each other, so they can offer discounts and introductions on whatever solutions they've had. And that results in real cash savings. And this is probably geared more towards those early stage businesses when they really need those benefits. So some of our clients offer cloud software or accessibility to cloud. Some of them have accountancy packages. Some of them provide HR support. So what we do, we introduce our businesses to each other, they offer discounts to each other, and it's a great way of these businesses continuing to generate turnover and cash and getting good value as well. So they're the kind of things we've learned over the years.
That's brilliant. Thank you. So that just comes across really as a very responsive and adaptive way of engaging, quite pragmatic as well. From your perspective, technology companies that they're probably more accustomed to going through roller coaster rides than more stable traditional sectors of the economy. When it comes to managing relationships themselves, when it comes to managing risk themselves, what do you think banks can learn from technology businesses that you've seen, and then vice versa? What could the your technology clients learn from banks when it comes to relationship management and managing risk?
Yeah, I really like that question. It's a really good question. So I guess what can banks get better at? I think when we find ourselves in situations such as this, it's a crisis, it's a pandemic we've never seen before. I think it's really when technology businesses come to the fore. Because if anything, they won't stop innovating. They will now be adapting, and they will be innovating at an even greater pace than what they were doing previously. And I look after the life sciences business as well. And I know we've got a portfolio of life science customers, and 3 or 4 of those jumped straight on to the COVID-19, trying to develop a vaccine or support those businesses that were trying to develop a vaccine. So, once they see an opportunity or something new, technology businesses will be on it, and they will now be innovating at even greater pace. I always find that what we can learn from as banks, technology businesses are very clear on what their business model is. They're very, very focused, and then they deliver on it, and they do it very, very well. They're not everything to everyone, but what they do, they have a real niche focus, and they do it brilliantly. They do it simply, they do it cost effectively, and it works. I just touched on one of the other points. I find that they adapt very quickly. They're nimble. Now, that's easier to say for a technology business because, that they're able to do that versus maybe a bigger bank that has an infrastructure and lots of people and policies and procedures. But, that's something that we should be aspirational towards, I believe. And what also banks need to use technology to increase our efficiencies and improve our processes. And what I like is, and when I say I like it, it's one of the things I've seen in the last 6 weeks. We were, and this is we as in our SVB management committee in Europe, we were talking about how do we improve efficiencies? Let's get this technology or that technology. And we were a little bit slower in implementing it. But when this crisis hit, it was a needs must. And the number of technological developments that happened in the first 2 weeks of being off was extraordinary. And then I kind of go back and question my colleagues, why didn't we do that 3 or 4 months ago? But it proves that banks can do it, they can adapt, and they can introduce technology when needs be. Things like DocuSign and processing documents for opening accounts and doing that over various platforms. So that's something I think banks need to get better at. Moving on to your second point, what are tech firms? What can they learn? A lot of these businesses haven't actually experienced a downturn before. We have a large number of clients who, never knew what a downturn is because they develop these businesses and then all they ever see is growth. Yes, some fall by the wayside because it doesn't work, but generally a lot of them are seeing this massive, massive growth. And then you hit something like COVID and it's bang, it smacks them straight in the face and think, wow, we never saw this before. So that's when I think they need the guidance or the partnership of us as banks and how we can help them approach their own client base, how we can help them handle the bank relationship, how we can help them handle their investor discussions. They're big areas that my teams are working on with our clients. And also, we talked a lot about to our customers about building a brand. So despite all the public perception of banks, let's be honest, it's not the most positive. And on occasions it can be negative. Even now when the banks are trying to lend money in a difficult situation, the headlines in the Sunday Times and the financial papers, banks are not doing what they should do. But actually, the majority of these businesses always turn to their bank to help them out of these situations. And that's because we have great brands. And that's something we continually talk to our clients about, developing that brand, getting it well known. What do you want to be known for? So I think there's certainly some areas that technology businesses can learn from us.
That's really insightful. Thank you. That's very insightful. I want to try and bring this part of the conversation to a close with an unanswerable question. um, but to get your best thoughts. So as you look forward, you leading relationship banking across Europe for SVB, SVB as an organization, working with technology companies. Nobody knows, the new normal, when, how, and what it will look like. But how do you go about preparing for that now? How do you go about the stages of planning and getting in a position so that you can accelerate into the new normal as it evolves?
Yeah.
How do you think about that today?
Yeah, that's on a question that's actually on our agenda for this afternoon's management committee. So very, very topical. I think one of the things we have learned is that we can actually operate a fully functional commercial bank, albeit clearly smaller than a Barclays or a Lloyds or what have you, but we can actually operate a fully functional commercial bank from our home. Now, I wouldn't want to do that for a sustained period of time, but we can do it from our sofas and kitchen tables, and with the added pressures of those that have schooling and young children, etc. I think what it has really hit home to me and my colleagues in Silicon Valley Bank is that we need to continue to invest in that technology that's going to enable us to carry on remote working. We're already looking at ways of being more agile. We're filling out the space in our London office, so we now operate very much a flexible work from home policy, and we were enabled with the kit to do that last September. So timing was fantastic from that sense. I think what it's also made us think about is how do we develop more partnerships to help us with that technology. So we have partnerships currently with people like Cantox who help us with our FX transactions, and we partner with those with our clients, and we're developing a lot more partnerships with our clients to help us to continue to develop, bring in better solutions that work, that are simple, that are cost efficient. We're also working with them that make our lives easier as well. So we work with companies in HR, etc. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at as well, partnerships. So I think for me, they're the two things. How can we continue to work remotely or on the move? And secondly, what businesses do we need to, what areas of our business do we need to consider to develop partnerships to make our business even more slick and offer a better client experience?
Thank you. That's absolutely brilliant.